In this video, we're going to get into identity and access management. Let's take a look at what it really encompasses. In this video, we'll start out by just defining what IAM is. We'll get into identity and access management, the two components of it, and then we'll finish off by talking about account lifecycle. The name really does say it all. Identity, which is who you are, proving that who you are, and then access management. What do you have access to? And these tickets do represent some systems, not all systems, but some systems where once you prove your identity, you're given certain tokens that you're allowed to log into certain resources from those tokens. But really, what is it? Well, IAM is a framework. It consists of policies, standards, procedures, guidelines, controls, technology, services, protocols. It's really how you implement this idea of identity and access management. And so each company is going to have a little bit different view into this and a little different setup into this, but it's the overall picture of how your company and organization approaches identifying people and the access that they have. Identity can come in lots of different forms. A lot of times we use usernames to identify people, but it could come into the form of a certificate. It could come into the form of biometrics. It could become in the form of some sort of smart card. It could come into a one-time password, something when you're trying to log into a system, you are sent through email or through SMS or through some other means, some sort of code for you to log into that system. So anything that will identify who you are. We call that authentication. When you take who you are, your ID, and some sort of verification, then you become authenticated. And so that is authentication. There's quite a few authentication protocols that help with this process. PAP, CHAP, and EAP are examples of those. And EAP is one of the most prevalent ones that are out there. These are really more associated with point-to-point protocols, although something like EAP gets incorporated with a lot of other type of protocols. So we take this protocol and we incorporate it into other protocols, and so it really gets used a lot. Then there's Kerberos, TACAX, Radius, Diameter, and LDAP. These are more protocols that you would use within your network. And then we have SAML, OAuth, and OpenID, which are some more recent protocols that we use with web applications. Once you are authenticated with a system and are allowed onto a system, doesn't mean that you have access to all the resources of that system. So there's an authorization part that happens to this as well. There's an access management part of this. So what do you have access to once you're on the system? It could be certain computers that you have access to. It could be certain networks. It could be certain servers, certain data, certain keys, certain types of documents. So what are you authorized to view once you're on that network, once you're on within the system? Identity and access management is really this holistic view though. It's not just the systems you're logging onto and how you're managing it, but it also takes this broader scope of even how do you manage your accounts. So when somebody starts at your company, you have this provisioning process where they are provisioned an account. They're given access to certain things. Once they are given access to it, there's this maintenance that happens and you have to do some change management if they change positions. So we sit there and manage those accounts as things change so that way we make sure that we don't give them access to systems that they don't necessarily need access to at any given time. And then we go through a deprovisioning process. When that person leaves, then we have to terminate the account and bring it down. So we go through this process of decommissioning or deprovisioning resources from that account. I like to think of IAM, identity and access management, as this big umbrella of how you approach things and how you implement things from a company or organization wide. And so it really has to do with that identity part and what you have access to. But there are parts of it, it's not just a technical way of looking at things, but there's things like account lifecycle and how you provision and deprovision those accounts.